welcome back to another episode of From the Shadows. And as always, guys, if you're enjoying the series, please do drop a big old like on this video. Now, we're going to start off with the question of the day. This is another one of those ones that it's there, and I'm not really sure you guys will be able to answer, obviously, but I wanted to get it out there, basically, because I do keep getting asked this, and yeah, I figured I need to talk about it. So, the question is, where is it? Let me see. Yeah, when will you start double uploading again? I've said this loads of times before, but I'm just going to put this out here now. Basically, I'm going to start double uploading again when I feel better, basically. I feel well enough to do a single upload at the moment, but it takes a lot out of me doing this at the moment, and yeah, I would love to start going back to doing double uploads again. I really, really would, because it was what I started, what got me going in the first place, and this isn't me sort of fobbing it off now. I really, really would be doing it if I could. I would be doing it. Please understand that. I just simply don't have the energy to do everything I need to do, plus all the extra work that I was doing before on the double uploads. It takes so much out of me at the moment, and like I basically recharge to about 20% every night. I wake up tired, unfortunately, and yeah, and my rundown, my battery is much quicker than usual, so I have to be very, very careful. I'm finding new ways to sort of maximise my efficiency at the moment, which does, of course, mean that when I do go back to doing double uploads, I'm like the human equivalent of Vorsprung durch technique at the moment, that efficient German engineering. So yeah. I actually don't know what Vorsprung durch technique stands for, so if that's completely wrong, which I assume it is, then do apologise. Right, so yeah, let's get into it. And if you do have any ideas for questions that I drop it in the comments with the hashtag QOTD. Don't worry, I've got loads of them that don't involve stuff like that coming up. In fact, while I'm here, someone asked me in the question of the day, and I'll just dump this in now while I'm thinking about it, is what computer is best for Football Manager? Budget £400. Now, there isn't like a computer that I would say is best for Football Manager, because the fact is Football Manager is one of those games that's quite well optimised, to be honest, and will run on just about anything. I used to run it on my old laptop, and that is a piece of shit. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's more of a question of what you want. Like, if you want to have the match day 3D graphics turned up to the full, then I guess you might want to have a okay graphics card. I've got quite a good graphics card. It doesn't really do much for FM, but it's great for other games. But that's because I had a bit more of a budget to work with. But you wouldn't be able to get like a super great graphics card in a computer for £400. It depends on what you want, a laptop or desktop. As for that, like, the best things you're looking out for here is obviously RAM and processor. The best processor and the most amount of RAM you can get for that money is the best. So just shop around, see what you can get. Like, for example, this computer here has only got 8 gigs of RAM, but I can extend it. But it does have an i7 processor that is probably one of the fastest ones you can get. So there is that. It does help with processing the leagues and whatnot and having all that on. And that's the thing. It depends on how many leagues you want to have on how fast you want the game to run. So, yeah, you pretty much be fine on just about anything. But the better the computer you've got, the faster the game will run and the more smoothly. But it will run nonetheless on just about anything you've got. Right, now, before we get into things, I'll talk about preseason and signings and all the good stuff. So I wanted to show them what leagues I have turned on. Now, I'm just going to quickly show you here. So this is what we have turned on at the moment. So we've got Argentina, top and second division. Belgium, top 2 tiers. Brazil with the same. Croatia, Czech Republic, top flight. Denmark with the top 2 tiers. England's, all of their tiers basically, apart from conference. We didn't need that really. France is top 4. Germany's top 3, Holland's top 2, Republic of Ireland, Italy's top 2, Norway's top 2, Poland, Portugal's top 2, Russia, 3 leagues from Scotland, 2 from Spain, 2 from Sweden, and 1 from Ukraine. Now, I just went for a sort of a general smattering. I may turn some more on soon, because I feel like I need to turn on a few more from Eastern Europe, because I'm noticing that regens that we would normally be getting, we aren't, because the clubs aren't producing them. So I might go and turn on the likes of Slovakia, Serbia, those types of countries, basically. That's sort of something I'm going to look into doing, because, in fact, now that I've thought about that seems to be a good idea. Because one thing I was struggling to find was decent regens from Eastern Europe, and that's something I normally get quite a lot of, as you well know. But we just haven't had any. In fact, you're going to see from the players we've signed that there's a particular trend coming through, and you'll notice that we've got a lot of Scandinavian countries turned on. In fact, I believe I have all of them minus Finland, or all of the main ones anyway. So, yeah, and basically, we've signed quite a few Scandinavian players, but there you go, that's the leagues I have turned on. I might turn a few more on whatever, but I don't have too many, because it does still slow the game down, even on this computer, and Outcast to Icons takes a long time to process, because the database is like 150,000 people. I had to turn a couple of leagues off from that one, I think, just to speed things up a little bit, and I'm still getting crash dumps on Outcast to Icons, so I've got to have it like a weekly rolling auto save on that one, which is a pain, because it takes ages to save. Right, let's get into what's actually been going on. So, basically, over the summer, and I'm going to do a squad report at the end of this too. Over the summer, I decided to go and do what I would usually do, which is go out and I found some players. There was one guy I was really interested in from PAOK or PAOK over in Greece. He was a New Zealander called Michael Green, and I don't understand why he was at PAOK. He was like a 4-star player with 5-star potential. and he's like 20. And he came into one of my scout reports last year, and I've been looking at him for a while. He was the only player that I'd actually got like really successfully scouted and wanted to get over the summer. But the problem is they wanted like £15 million from him, which was a shame. I thought, being the slightly lower rep, we might be able to get them off of him, and that's been the issue. I've basically had to look for players that are of decent quality from slightly lower rep clubs. You know, if there's a choice between one player at like Hertha Berlin and another player at like Norrköping, it had to be the one from Norrköping because the price difference was just phenomenal, and that's why we've gone very Scandinavian. And I, for one, welcome our new Scandinavian overlords. So yeah. We'll talk about it in a sec. In fact, no, we'll talk about these transfers now. Let's just get straight into it, because tactically I've kept things relatively similar in terms of the instructions. However, I have changed one thing, and you'll notice where I changed it. So, you know, reasonable results. Big teams, reasonable results. Slightly better against poorer teams. Some poorer results. And then suddenly, the same level of team that we were playing here, suddenly we're smashing them 6-1, 6-0, 7-0. And I'll explain what I did in a minute, because I think this might be the difference this season, or it certainly will allow us to have a bit more of a dynamic tactic. So, let's get into transfers. Right. So basically, as you can see, some players have left out. Theo Marchandes has gone out. Charlie Hubert has gone. I just didn't think there was much place for him in the team. Jordan Lydon has gone. And the main reason I got rid of Jordan Lydon is not because he wasn't going to be an okay player and probably could have been a backup for us at some point. The problem was he was a non-EU player and he was taking up a spot that I could have been using to bring in someone very, very good. And I needed that spot, basically. We got him on a free and we've sold him for 325,000. So it's profit all round. Alain Richard, Gerard Aubry, Misilou and Rayan Guillaume have all gone out on loan. Now, we have signed more than the players here, but unfortunately we've got some of those sort of signings for the future types of players. Now, every single player that I've signed, except for one, is a player for the future, basically. I've really looked at the future. I've strengthened in one area, and we're going to talk about that area first. This is Park Jae-won. Now, he is yet another sort of attacking midfielder, but he can play as a striker as well, which is the most important thing for me. He's sort of a false nine. He's got the sort of, I don't know, I wasn't really that bothered about his attributes to be a striker, to be honest. I was more interested in him as a sort of midfielder. But as you can see, he's actually got pretty decent stats for an advanced forward too. If we needed to play him there, we could. Now, he came in on a free transfer. He was released by, I think, Ulsan? Yeah, it was Ulsan. Thankfully, I actually had a scout in South Korea. Or not South Korea, but it was, you know, my Asia scout. And that's the first time I'd done that. I changed my scouts up a little bit last season. I sent one over to Asia. Usually I don't, just because I rarely ever find that much good. But I decided to give it a crack. And my God, we actually got one. He's the only player that was worth signing. But my God, was he worth signing. So yeah, let's just take a little closer look at him. He is obviously can play as a shadow striker or an advanced playmaker. He's just going to be another one of those players, basically, to fit that sort of role that sort of the likes of Uchan, Pereira, Aslan, those players, basically. He's perhaps not quite so good slightly further back, but I may train him because he is only 21 and I feel like we could get a lot out of him in those positions. Also, I'm trying to move Didats on now because he's fallen down the pecking order and he's still worth about £1 million. So I just don't want him getting upset because he's not a key player. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to have to do over the summer. I actually got a lot of business done early this time, which is unusual for me, as you can see. Apart from this guy, most of them were done within the first sort of week of the transfer window. Now, I set up a few before that, of course, but I usually wait until July. That way I can have a little crack at the the free agents. Right. So, we had a transfer fund of just under 9 million. We are still expected to just avoid relegation this season, so it's going to be a work in progress, but this year I feel that we can slowly start to strengthen as some of our younger players are now going to start to come into their own, and I'm looking fantastically forward to that. So, right, I feel I've overpaid for one player, but he won't be on this list. Now, we've had a few players, as you can see, every single one of these players is Scandinavian. So we've got Ivor Holt. We're going to start with him, actually. 1.9 million he's cost us, but as you can see, lots and lots of potential. He is a forward, but he can play on the wing, but we won't need him there, basically. He is a striker for the future, basically, and I personally think he's got a lot about him. You know, at the moment, of course, he's not superb, but he is only 16 years old, and to get him in for 1.9 million, I can't remember who it was we actually got him in from in the end. It was Mulder. So Scully wasn't that interested either. But yeah, Ivor Holt, Norwegian, 1.9 million. Perhaps we overpaid a little bit, but I don't know. I still feel like there's a lot. This lad has a lot to offer. You'll probably end up going out on loan this year. I don't see him playing for us a great deal, perhaps in the Cups, if we get the opportunity to. But we've signed a lot of players basically for the future again, because that's what I like to do. I like to get that youth conveyor belt going, and now we're in a position to do that. I'm quite happy to go and just get on these guys. Next up is probably the one I'm least satisfied with, but the price is relatively good. This is Robin Roos. He's Swedish. We brought him in from Norrköping. He looks a little bit like a Eurovision contestant, which is always a good thing. $500,000. Again, maybe not this guy, although his current ability is quite low, it would seem, so maybe his potential will allow him to fulfill that slightly more. So perhaps he's one of the sort of weaker ones, but I still feel like we could probably make a profit on him in the long run, even if we only sell him on for like $1 million to $2 million at a later date. You know, sometimes I just do that to give us some extra cash. If I spot a player that may not be that great for us, but we could still sell him for a profit, then I'll usually do that. It's all about the business. It's all about the business. Right, so yeah, now moving on to players I'm slightly more enthused about, and this is the one I'm really, really pleased with in terms of the quality of the signing, in terms of how much we paid. So this is Ove Aspvik. Yeah, Aspvik. Apologies. Again, my Norwegian is not that well. My Norwegian is non-existent. My Swedish is fine, but it's £3,900 we pay for this lad, and look at his, like, for me, he's one of those players that is very, very specific. Like, he's got good heading, his decent marking, his tackling are quite low, but the point is they reckon he's got a lot of potential. So hopefully, if he can start to fulfill that, to be honest with you, no matter what he does, he's worth 3.9. He's worth nearly £4,000. That's the way I look at it. He can't go wrong. I don't think he could be a bad signing for that amount of money, and that's why I was more than happy to let him have that, to bring him in. He, again, is going to be probably going out on loan this year. And finally, in terms of the players that have actually joined us this summer, so as you can see, these guys probably won't be slotting into the team, but Park Jae-won definitely will. Marius Stroma, I believe it's Stroma. I can never remember how to pronounce that O. I don't know if it is like the O with the umlaut in Swedish. I don't know. It may not be. So if you are Norwegian, could you let me know how to pronounce that O? I've always wondered, like in Ødegaard or Stroma here. Is it Stroma? So as you can see, once again, a forward type of player. Not great current ability, but again, his potential is what we're looking at here, and for £500,000, again, I had just decided to have to go for this kind of thing, basically. So those are the players that have come in now. Now, I have made 2 more signings for the future, who, of course, will be joining us a little bit at a later date. So Luis won't be able to join us till next October, but this is what I did at Red Star, and this worked for us in the long run, signing these players that wouldn't join you for a couple of years, but that gives them a chance to develop at the clubs they're already at. Now, we're going to start with, actually, this guy, who won't be joining us for at least another 2 years, which is a little bit disappointing. And I also think we may have overpaid slightly for this guy. Now, he's only worth £82,000 here, but he does have decent current ability already for someone that's 16 years old. So I feel like he's got a potential to develop into someone quite decent. Now, we're a little bit unsure on this one. My scout, I don't know. I feel like perhaps we paid 3.1 million more because he was from Lokomotiv Moscow. I think if he's at a slightly lower league Russian side, potentially we would have paid less. So perhaps that one might be the one that might catch us out. But if he does come to fruition as being the player that they think he could be, then he still will be a very, very solid defensive midfielder, and probably eventually will take over from Joachim Bulens in that spot. So when, Joachim Bulens has his day off. Now, Luis. I love a player called Luis, and I think we've already noticed this over the years. Now, this guy, I decided we needed one decent South American player. You usually get that one. I have had it on all my saves, so we had the Santoses, the Mamutes, and the whatnots. This is ours. This is Luis, and he's from Fluminense. He signed us for £2.5 million. I couldn't believe this. The fact is, he can play as a sort of attacking mid and a centre mid. He's already got 2.5 star ability at 16 years old. Look at all these 16s. He's got 16 dribbling, 16 first touch, 16 heading, 17 passing, determination. He has got an amazing level of stats for a 16-year-old. I think he could be I genuinely think he could be a world-class player, and he will get to do that with us, basically. And he's going to get another year of development at Fluminense, which means when he joins us next summer, I fully expect him to be able to slot straight into our first team, and it's basically like a free signing next summer, because it won't have taken any money out of the transfer fund for it, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him. So that's what we've done. It's not super busy in terms of the players coming in. We've not made loads of signings for the first team this year, because frankly, in a lot of areas, I'm actually quite happy. We've got players coming through in certain areas that are actually, like, if you look at our squad depth, in terms of, at the moment, there are some holes, as you can see. Wing-backs, not great. Defensive mids, not great. And the backups for the central defensive roles aren't great. But if you look at the potential, that's much, much more like it. I mean, that's more like it when I see things. We've got a lot of depth in terms of the overall potential of some of these players. And that's what I'm kind of more interested in the long run, is these sort of guys. If you look at particularly the striking options with either Hull and Marius Stroma, the only area I think that really does need some improvement in terms of the depth maybe is a second choice goalkeeper. At the moment, that's not really an area that we're particularly strong in. So there you go. That is pre-season, basically. That's what we've done. We've made a lot of... Now, the only difference I've made in the tactic is that we started off, obviously, our usual tactic, and it was okay, but then I changed it to attacking here, and we started to pick up a few more wins. Obviously, we lost these ones, but then I decided to change it to control, and suddenly changing it to control seemed to make a huge difference. Now, we're away against Bordeaux on the opening day, so I am actually probably going to go on our counter-attacking style rather than trying to control a game away from home, but yeah, I think that a controlled approach might be better for our home matches, and matches away against slightly weaker sides might give us a better chance at winning them. So, right, with that in mind, I'm just going to do a quick squad report so you guys can actually see kind of what's been going on here. So we'll just show you the sort of the main one. So Sigurdist, as you can see, I'm just going to quickly skip through some of these guys so you can just take a quick gander yourselves, because I don't want to spend too long on this, otherwise the episode will go on for a little bit too long. But as you can see, you know, some of the arrows will be downwards just because we played matches recently. I've not overdone it with the friendlies. We still had a lot of them, but not anywhere near as much as we have before. I sort of did 4 in like 8 days, and then we take like a week off so that we can concentrate on the training side of things. Which was the overall plan in general, basically, just to make sure that we didn't overdo it. Paciencia is back in training, but he's not actually fit enough to play any games yet. I expect it to be at least 3 or 4 weeks, probably, before he's fit enough to actually play any games, but it's just going to be nice to have him back. And Sod's Law, we'll put him back in, and I think he's got slightly injury prone, which is a pain, so he probably could end up, getting injured again, which is a disappointment, but sometimes shit like that happens, doesn't it? It's just one of the things you can have to deal with. Right, so there's your squad report. Hopefully if you wanted to see any of the players, you paused it on there. Usually I would do it a bit longer, but this episode's already running into the 15 minutes, so we don't want to go on for too long in that. Right, let's just do this now. Some games have already played, not a lot. Marseille have played, and that's about it, really. And Olympique Lyon, of course, lost their one. So I'm hoping that, as you can see, we're on controlled. But for now, well, actually, what I might do is I might start it off on control to see how that works, and we might switch it back to counter if things don't go quite as well as we'd hoped, basically. So that's the idea. So Cherry, Park J1, Ergin Aslan, Gape, Pereira. That's looking like a much stronger midfield. Bulens is looking better now. 10, Oban, Philippe, and Cantini. But we do, of course, have plenty of people to come in, the likes of Carlos Ruiz, who this season I think will slowly take over that role. Ivor Holt does actually make the bench, so that is surprising, actually, but also very, very nice to see. So let's get into things. Someone needs to be given a squad number. We're actually running out of squad numbers at the moment here. There we go. Some nice low ones. I don't know why I usually auto number because it takes so long, and it seems to be giving them really high numbers lately, so I don't really understand that. Yep, Uchan's got a broken rib, which is a bit disappointing. I would love to get off to a winning start, but I do think that's going to be difficult away at a team like Bordeaux. If I'm honest, they are a very, very strong side. I don't know how well we had some quite good games against them in the past, if I recall. I want to see what control does for us, basically. We've been good in the last few friendlies with it, albeit against very, very weak sides, but we certainly looked a lot better against them with this tactic than we did using our counter-attacking style, basically. That's the way I'm looking at it. Wow, I'm actually going to immediately switch because we're not getting a lot of the ball. Pass completion is not good. This looks like it could be one of those games where we may need to nick something from it if we're going to get anything. Sigurdist out wide to Petter 10. They've started really strongly. Ball over the top for Alberto Cherry. He's through on goal here. He's through on goal. Oh, I thought that was looking like a foul. I hoped he was going to get himself sent off there and we'd be able to have a little crack at this one. Oh, we've not started this game well at all. Cantini. It's going to be another tough season, I feel. I feel like this year we could be a little bit more... If we can get a little bit more luck, and... Because people have told me that they've been using this tactic and it's worked for them. So I'm hoping that last year was just a bit of a blip on the radar and we did just have some really piss-poor luck. That's my hope, anyway. And that slowly this year, some of our youngsters will start coming through and start getting a little bit better. That's the overall plan, anyway. Sertic around the corner for Green. Oh, it's in the back of the net. Is that? No way. Oh, sorry. I thought that was Michael Green, the guy from PAOK, who we were trying to sign, but it's actually Julian Green, formerly of Bayern Munich. They've deserved that to start. We've been utterly awful at the beginning of this match. I really have to say that is not a good start. PSG are already 4-0 up. I don't know who they're playing right now. Who are they playing? Stade Rennais. That's quite surprising. Green getting himself in there and dropping that in the near post. Not in the far post, rather. Not much Sigurdist can do about that. It's still going to be a tough year, and it's going to take us a while to settle, I still feel. But I think this year we should be aiming for mid-table. I've obviously told the board that we're just going to attempt to avoid relegation again. But I think, given a few more years, and these players sort of coming through the ranks, it's going to be tough. It's not as easy as it was with Portsmouth, because with Portsmouth... Oh, wow. Good save. With Portsmouth, we got a lot more money, and we got a lot more money at a lot earlier stage. And it meant that I could start bringing through the players like I'm doing now, but I could start doing that when we were like championship level. And it meant that by the time we reached the Premier League, we already had players coming through a little bit. Like we were able to get people like Tony Ivancic very early on and Norman Millington and those sort of players. Whereas here, it's taken us a couple of years in the top flight just to get those players. So it's going to take us a few seasons before we really start seeing those results. We should be able to do enough to comfortably keep our heads above water in the meantime. And obviously, you know, if I notice a glaring hole, I will still try and sign some players that are actually of quality, which is why I, of course, dipped in and got Park J1. The problem was the free agents market this year was really poor, and I know we've had really good times with it in the previous few seasons. You know, the signing the likes of Alberto Cherry and Paciencia. But he was really the only player that stood out as a free agent that was worth our signing, basically, because a lot of them we could have got, but they would have been on massive wages, and I didn't want to do that because I wanted to make sure that we were still financially viable. You know, it's all very well having a good player, but if it's not worth it financially. Pereira's through here, it's blocked, he's very nearly got through on the end of that there. Our first real chance of the game comes right after half time. It is still only 1-0, so it could still happen. I just don't think it will, though. That's the problem. They look quite strong, Bordeaux. They were one of the top teams last season, if I recall correctly. Hamuma now, dipping inside, long ball to the back post. It's Green again, and it's in the back of the net again. Green left in all kinds of space, and it's Julian Green 2, basically. Paris FC 0. And this is one of our worst performances for quite some time. I think we probably should have started this game on counter, personally, because... dear. We want to try and... the question is, do we start trying to go and push for it, or... would that just risk us conceding more goals? That's the kind of issue we're faced with. I don't know why Ivor Holt's got no morale. That's weird. I'm going to bring on Djurkaev. I'm going to give him a run out here because Cherry's not really done a great deal today. And we're going to get on Janvier as well in... Oh, you might notice that Janvier is still here. We've just got him on a 5th season on loan. I can't believe it. Yeah, Stade Rennais let us have him for the 5th year in a row on loan. So I thought, why the hell not? We may as well loan him for his entire career at this rate. And he's useful to have anyway. We're not paying a huge amount of wages on him at the moment, so I'm quite happy to keep him in there. He's a useful player, and Reed now puts it in the back of the net. Winston Reed. God, there's a lot of sort of Anglic names. 3-0 to... we've not been good enough today, even close. Bordeaux have been brilliant. Their tactics just worked against us, and they've been good from set pieces. What on earth is that for defending? We were nowhere near Winston Reed. This has just been an overall poor performance, so I can't really see many positives we can take out of the performance overall. We're going to need to kick on. Like, we need to perform more like we did in the last day of the season. Admittedly, we didn't actually win the game, but we looked a lot better. And I just don't think this game was ever going to be that, unfortunately. This looks like it's going to be a pretty poor 3-0 victory. But we can't afford to get too many results like this. Goal difference is going to be important. Sometimes you do just have to write things off, of course. We can't be expected to win the league every year. Well, certainly can't be expected to get... No, we can fall the balls. They lost 3-0. Pretty comfortably, in fact. You know, it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to take us a little while to work our way up here, but I feel like this year we shouldn't be struggling against relegation in the end. I think that we'll have enough in the tank this time to hopefully do that. And if we could just get a little bit more luck than we did last year, I think we'll be fine. And I think players will get better. The likes of Aslan and Ruiz and those sort of players will be improving leaps this year, and Bulens and all those types. So even Cherry, frankly, will be improving. So that's good. That's what we need. So in the next episode, we're going to be doing... When's the next... the first PSG game is there, which means the next episode should probably be... Let's do Stade Caen. We love a game against Stade Caen. We've got Lorient, Valenciennes, Montpellier. There's some winnable games in there, to be honest, so I think we should be okay to get a few points on the board. It's certainly not the start we had last season, but we've got to make sure that we get some results like that, because that's pretty much what kept us up last year, was that start we had. So... if you guys like what you've seen, please do drop a like on the video, and if you'd like to even more than that, please subscribe to my channel for more Outcaster icons and From the Shadows in your inbox every other day at the moment at 7 o'clock. And I will see you guys in the next episode for yet another game against Stade Caen, where hopefully we can get things going a little bit. And I don't know, I just really want to see some signs of good things. People like Aslan need to step it up a notch, basically. That's what we need to see. And hopefully try and sort of incorporate some of these new signings as well when we can. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.